again, welcome to Commercial Cash Flow System. So what we're going to do next is we're going to be covering due diligence. We talked about due diligence, okay? We're going to go ahead and speak in detail on timelines for due diligence, but before we do so, through our negotiation section and also our letter of intent section, I'm going to share this with you now. This is very important. This is just a copy of a one-page letter of intent right here. As you can see, it's a one-page letter of intent. First point I'm going to make on this letter of intent is this. It lists, of course, the same information that we went over, but this one has some verbiage. And the verbiage is this. I mentioned before, if you remember, a dollar for dollar. That means that every dollar down, you get dollar back for land free and clear. Do you guys remember? Yes. Okay. So because I went ahead and spoke of that, I wanted to make sure that you get the verbiage. And here it is. Buyer will make an initial down payment in the amount of blank in exchange for said down payment. Seller will release blank percentage of the total acreage free and clear of all encumbrances at closing and the exact parcels to be agreed upon by buyer and seller during due diligence period. So what you're saying is that every penny down, you're going to get a penny back of land free and clear with no encumbrances. Do you understand how important that is? It's very important. So if you're purchasing a building for its income, and it also comes with land adjacent to it that's within the purchase, you can go ahead, even with seller financing, I'm talking about your down payment. Let's say you're going to be putting down $500,000 down payment. The rest is all going to be seller financing for, say, a $1.5 million purchase. So $1 million in seller financing and $500,000 down. You can go ahead and exchange your down payment of $500,000 dollar for dollar for the release of land. Now what you own is land adjacent to the property that you've yet to go ahead and contain ownership of until you retire the seller finance note. But now that you have acquired that land free and clear, if the land has value and you know that the land has value, for instance, if there is 2 acres adjacent to the property, and the 2 acres, the value of it, or the future value after you get it rezoned, or after you get the plans approved, or after you get it platted, would be worth, say, $1 million, or possibly $2 million. What you're going to do in that regard is you're going to get land back dollar for dollar for the as-is value. So what you'll have is free and clear land. You'll have ownership of the land adjacent to it. And what you can do is go ahead and sell that land. And in a lot of cases, I've seen it personally, where you can go ahead and close on the property and own the whole thing. Own the whole thing, free and clear. Right on, he says. I agree. Right on is right. So that's very, very important. We got a lot to go through. I ask please to go ahead and just write down your questions for me. I'll try to get to them. Now here, I talked about subordination. This is something else that's very important. Let's say that you had that seller finance note on this same piece of property. You had the same seller finance note. You want the seller to go ahead and subordinate to second position to allow you to go ahead and get a first mortgage that any hard money lender will lend on in first position, as we know. And what we can do is we can go ahead and take that money, and a lot of times we can borrow against their own property to pay for their own property, and then improve the land adjacent to their property, since we're getting it free and clear, and own their whole property with none of our own money credit. And you have the dang experience now. Here's the verbiage. Seller to carry a second mortgage in the amount of blank, subordinated to a new first mortgage to be taken out by buyers with no payment or interest, an entire balance due within X months of closing. That is the verbiage for the letter of intent. You have the verbiage for the contract, and that's the way it gets spelt out. If you can see this, think out of the box, understand this, convey this message in a positive light, the same way that I'm doing right now, right here in front of you, it's nothing more than the seller to carry a second mortgage in the amount of $750,000, subordinate to a new first mortgage to be taken out to the buyers with no payment or interest, entire balance due within 36 months of closing. All it means is that they're going to go ahead and take the seller finance note and slide it into second position, regardless of the dollar amount. I mentioned $750 under the scenario we were speaking about. Obviously, it would have been $1 million. Okay? Now, here it is too as well. The mortgage and note held by seller will allow for the partial release of parcels, upon payment received based on the percentage ratio equal to the purchase price per square foot. What we're saying is under the same scenario, we're spelling it out. We're saying that for every dollar in, we get free land back. Free land back is from the purchase price per square foot, whatever the purchase price per square foot may be. Under the scenario that I just mentioned to you, the 2 acres adjacent, an appraisal will do an as is where is, not future value, as is where is appraisal. And it doesn't have to be an MAI. It just has to satisfy your negotiation with the seller. And a lot of times the sellers will just go on a BPO, a broker's price opinion. What the opinion is of a person, regardless of an appraisal, the opinion of a professional sometimes will work. Only you opening your mouth saying, we'll get an MAI appraisal on it, will make you have to just come out of pocket with money. But if you say, we'll go ahead and get a professional opinion to find out what the value of the adjacent tracts are, is that smart? It's extremely smart, all right? And then this is one last thing I want to share with you here. Note the psychology behind what's after note. Buyer is fully capable of retiring note to seller regardless of sale of subject property. You understand what we're saying? We're saying regardless of all these terms, we are fully capable of retiring the note. You're reassuring them that you're not only just a true player, but that you could go ahead and do this deal if need be. But you won't. We're only doing it with the terms that we're suggesting. It just puts it in their face. And believe me, it makes them feel warm and fuzzy inside when they see that. I don't know anybody else that uses that on their LOIs. Question is, I don't know why. Maybe they think that they're going to go back and say, well, why don't you just go ahead and retire the note full then? Well, we would if your property wasn't in distress or a non-performing asset, or if it wasn't 50% vacant, or if it was land that was truly in the path of progress, that we could go ahead and get in there and make it happen. But remember, focus on what we're doing. We're looking for the low-hanging fruit. We're looking for the kind of deals that we can get in there and we can realize huge upside, equity at closing. And if we are retail buyers, then yes, this note right here, this phrase right here might rock the boat. But considering that we can justify it so easily, like I did with the gentleman on the phone or did with the gentleman with the pre-recorded call and just said, Guy, you got to understand, that's just one big ugly box. This right here makes them feel warm and fuzzy. Okay. Did we take it all in? Anybody need to keep it up? Yeah. Just okay. I'll leave it up there for a few minutes. Okay. Okay. I'll leave it up there for you. Now, I want you to go ahead and just write down your questions like I've asked a couple times, please. I got a lot of material to go through. All right. Now, page 98, due diligence. All right. Unlike in residential real estate where everything needs to be disclosed, in commercial real estate is buyer beware. Caveat emptor, all right? Verify all the facts as quick as possible. Make sure all the facts and assumptions. Now, do yourself a favor and look at the first 3 letters of the word assumption, all right? Now, Make sure all property facts and assumptions are complete and accurate, okay? Because you don't want to be the three letters. You need to verify it and make sure it's accurate, all right? Always get a second opinions. Always look to your right and look to your left, all right? And that's what the heavy lifting's for. That's what I'm here for. You need to know who to ask and how to ask. Now, here we go. Make some good notes. Values, number one. We're going to talk about values. Values, brokers, appraisers, and engineers. I've said it over and over again. It's not lions and tigers and bears, oh my. It's brokers, appraisers, and engineers. Entitlement feasibility. What that comes down to, who does those entitlements? Who does that feasibility, right? Guys, that's done by engineers. Engineers, and they love to talk. Do we have any engineers in here? Thought we did. Yeah, we have one. Okay, good. So, you know as well as I know, sir, that you know the information because you're a professional and you know exactly what you're talking about. And being the fact that you know exactly what you're talking about, people who know what they're talking about like to talk a lot. Yeah, why are you looking at me? Costs. Who do you get the costs from? Remember, guys, this is pre-contract due diligence, not a red cent. Project management team in your contractor bids, okay? Contractor bids. Remember I said we always get a bid from a contractor. We always get a scope of work. Write that down. It'll be good for your note section later, scope of work. Lease up and rent, and then rent raise, and also the feasibility of that. You need to know the real true feasibility of getting in there and raising those rents. All right? That's the leasing agents, the professionals. And crime. Don't laugh. Postmen and pizza delivery guys know what's going on. You'll hear brown truck nightmare stories, right? The police, obviously, and then also there's databases there. And guys, I'll tell you right now that you're going to have a Google toolbar, right? You guys love that session with the Google toolbar? So powerful right there. What you can also do is just Google certain cities in certain areas and find out great information, all right? Get all the property records and reports from the broker or owner as soon as possible. And remember, the time is ticking on the clock once you start your due diligence. It's clicking and it's ticking. So make sure that you move forward quickly. And you want to have in your letter of intent, this is just one copy of one, but in your letter of intent that the other one, because you're going to have two, and the other one that I did a handout on, remember it said in there something about reports. You want to make sure that you do have all those reports sent to you. All right? So since your due diligence is ticking, you want to make sure that you get everything over to you so you can make a decision to move forward and close based upon reliable facts. Utility bills, service contracts, inspection and reports, rent roll, leases, rent raises, estoppels, and verify financials. Income property to ensure they match the seller broker's claims. Most often they will not. You just want to make sure that everything is lined up. And guys, if they fluff one number, they fluff the net operating income, or they fluff something on their profit and loss statement, you just want to scrutinize everything a little harder. If everything looks like all the ducks in a row, then just continue to verify the facts. Don't ever think, oh, they're so nice, they would never do that. No. Verify everything. All right? Okay, loan docs. If assuming a loan, wraparound loan, or purchasing subject to, you got to look at those loan docs, and those loan docs are not you drawing loan docs, and also 2 to 3 years tax returns, etc. If you can get those in hand. All right. So let's take a moment here. Let me go ahead and kill this thing over here because the light's going to be in my eye. Due diligence checklist before the offer. So this is going to be before the offer. Now, I figured to this point, guys, your hands are going to be a little sore. So I went ahead and lighten the load on you here for the next couple of pages, okay? Now, if the asking price is well below the value, the as-is value, is the project worth grief? Is it worth the grief, right? Now, number two, can you buy it without using your money? Or if you do, can you get it back quickly and safely? Now, I want you to make a little note next to that. Go ahead and put down there that relationships are worth more than money. And you want to make sure that even if it's not your own money, you want to make sure that you can get it back quickly and safely. So maybe something to the effect of relationships are worth more than money, regardless of where the money comes from. You want to get it back quickly and safely. All right? Thank you very much. Now, can you borrow enough to buy and fix from a private lender? Can you borrow enough to buy it and fix it? Can you borrow enough from a private lender? If not, can you borrow at least enough to buy it so you can get a development loan from a soft lender? All right, we're going to talk about the money in a moment. Will the seller or owner finance part or all, at least on a short-term basis? Now, circle short-term basis because it's always going to be referred to in the psychology as a short-term basis, regardless if it's 12, 24, 36, 48, 60 months. Look, it's only 60 months. I'll tell you right now, the psychology behind 60 months or 48 months or even 36 is a heck of a lot shorter than saying, I just need you to sell or finance for 5 years. It isn't music to anybody's ears. Months, guys, months. All right? Do you clearly see your exit strategy, and is your offer setting it up? That's a good question. Are you dealing with realistic numbers, or are you in la-la land? Don't turn a turkey into an eagle. All right? Can you make good money if it doesn't work out perfectly? Remember the Murphy factor? Murphy's your partner. Can you get all the financial information on current and projected income and expenses and debt? All right? Now, we already know who we go to get that information. It's to the owner, it's to the broker, and anybody else that's got a good sense. We verify it later. We run the numbers with the formulas that you've learned. Now, additional raw land questions. What's the highest and best use, and how does the seller broker feel about chances of converting it to its highest and best use? Has anyone asked the city about rezoning, and how long was it expected? These are questions for the broker. Write down broker next to number 7 and say just ask, right? Just ask the broker for number 7. And I'll tell you what, when you ask what's the highest and best use and how does the seller broker feel about the chance of converting, when you ask them, look, has anybody gone down and spoke with an engineer about getting it rezoned or getting it to be put to the highest and best use? Oh, yeah, they did. How long did it take? I don't know. Well, why didn't they close on the property? Maybe they didn't close on the property because it was a Colorado property, right? Get old and gray waiting for that thing to happen. Now, how close is sewer and water and other developments or proposed developments? In other words, a good thing to ask the city, write this down, is have you guys already approved any PUDs, planned unit developments? What development plans have you guys approved lately? How long does it take to get a development plan approved? All right? Now the city, you're prying information out of them with simple questions. How much land is high and dry? Okay? Also, is the land in the path of progress or in the wilderness? Or, like I refer to, in the sticks? Is it way far out, or is it within development reach? How much road frontage? Road frontage is very, very important, right? Is there timber or minerals that have value? And that's just a question that you ask the broker. You don't ask that to the seller. Is there any minerals around this area, around this property by chance? Oh, there are, huh? Yeah, just emerald. Oh, forget it. We don't want emerald. Is there an aerial map, site plan, plat map, phase 1, and survey available? Those are the reports. Those are the reports. We want to know that. All right, page 100. So here's a due diligence checklist after contract is executed, guys. Before it was prior. That's pre-contract due diligence. Now we're going to go ahead and step it up to the big leagues. Once we know that we're in. We want to go ahead and find out. Due diligence checklist after the contract's executed. Now you're ready to go ahead and move forward and commit. Now there might be a little skin that needs to be put in the game. Properties with buildings and mobile home parks. Order title search and deliver a copy of contract to your attorney so he and she may want to order title. That's the way it works, okay? Number 2 is collect all financial information on the property, including the current income and expense. You got to have that. The past 2 years' tax returns on the property if available. Now, make a note. Put a little parentheses there. Not seller's tax returns. We want to go ahead and get the tax returns on the property, unless they own the property in their own name. That's something different, but we still want to go ahead and see those 2 years tax returns. And if you're this close, it's irrelevant. If they're a seller, they're a seller. They're motivated. You're going to make it happen. Mortgage information, if it applies. Copies of rent roll and leases, like we just mentioned, we have to have that. That's going to have to be put together in the package. Now, visit the property if you haven't done so. Now, make a note next to this, or send the professionals out to go look at the property, which is even better. Have them or yourself, if you choose to go, talk to the manager and maintenance people and learn everything you possibly can. The good, write this down, the good, the bad, the ugly. You want to know it all. All right? You want to know it all. If the maintenance people are there and they say, I've replaced 6 screens in the last month. You replaced what? 6 screens. Where? To that window right there. Why? They keep cutting a little hole in there. Well, why are they cutting a hole in the screen? I don't know. Then maybe talk to a tenant. What's going on? A lot of people go to that screen quite often in the middle of the night. You want to go ahead and know the good, the bad, and the ugly. That way you can kick that person out on their rear. All right? It's important. It's important. Little things like that will keep tenants from renting. All right? Go through every occupied unit and some occupied as well. Take lots of photos. Talk to tenants while management not present. Decide what to do to improve the property and get a feel for what it would cost, like I mentioned before. The existing management company might say, look, I could get this thing rented up lickety-split, but you got some problems with this property. Oh, yeah? What's the problem? Well, they got a lot of dark hallways here, and people just aren't comfortable when they come in here. We need to brighten it up, lighten it up, maybe add a security gate on the different perimeters of the property so people feel more comfortable being here. You never know. Remember, guys, it doesn't have to be a perfect property. You're not living there. We're buying the income stream, not the building. You're not going to live there, okay? Decide what you do to improve the property yourself or get a feel what it would cost. Get some guesstimates and then go get estimates. See if the information on the income and expense statements make sense. Make a list of what to do to raise the rents and lower the expenses. Okay? Just make that list. Number 4, if the deal looks good, take it to a lender and ask for an MAI appraisal. This is the key that unlocks the vault, guys. It needs to be ordered immediately or order one yourself. I want you to make a 4.